Disgaea 6. This is the complete review. It's let me speak from the start. So Disgaea is the title of the series, deep lovers for turn-based strategy capable of placing over 5 million copies around the world despite the genre belonging by no man's generalist. Just last year we told you about its merits and explained it all true was not the spearhead of the saga. A title still belongs to excellent 5th chapter described in our last video about Disgaea 5, so you can find it somewhere on the channel or and somewhere else, I guess at our site probably it will be, because it was quite long ago. So okay, after 12 months the European exclusivity contract that bound him to the Big N expired. The word Nipponichi software arrives on Sony consoles and on PC. It's a great shape thanks to its revised edition and correct. Disgaea 6 Complete is exactly the game we have already enjoyed on Nintendo Switch, with only content edition of the all characters and the cosmetics inserted through the DLC, but its stability on the title that surprises and fascinates even more who have already fleshed out on its smooth version, because the technical bumps and quater on the hybrid console have completely disappeared, as we are able to see. All through the 10-year history of its franchise, Nipponichi has surprised its audience with increasingly absurd and less serious stories, but it is with Disgaea 6 that it truly surprised itself. The protagonist of the title is Zed, a zombie seeking revenge against the god of destruction for personal reasons that are not highlighted in the opening bars of the story. His undead condition allows him to ignore the consequences of the unbalanced confrontation, because every fatal blow inflicted by the evil deity corresponds to immediate resurrection, complete with increased personal parameters and even more outward desire for the victory. Zed has insisted of the cycle of continuous attempt and renews defeats for too long, so following the wise advice of his talking dog Cerberus, he chooses to change his approach, relying for the first time on companions in adventure, each of whom has seen his world going the ruin the passage of the god of destruction. The narrative context of the entire Disgaea series is considerably less than secondary to itself, and its 6th chapter is no exception, but the superficiality of its stereotypical characters and the repeatedness of the plot are more evident this time. The main story is divided into the micro chapters, which the end with a losing battle that start against the god of destruction, which obligates the reincarnation of Zed in the world inhabited by new allies. The repetition of these events is already boring, and its first recycle also due to dialogues and the focus of the very forgettable comedy, and the depth of the writing does not improve over the course that 40 hours required to complete the main plot. In writing out teen against the narrative, probably our fingers will often find themselves flirting with the jump button during the dialogues, because the desire to go further is fueled by a playful component which, unlike diegetic, is very little prone to the joke. How to describe this Disgaea combat system in a depth without getting lost in a competition of hundreds of pages? Let's start by saying that the Nipponichi work is a turn-based strategy with which we can control every single character on the board to follow our commands. Unlike the other similar titles, after having given an order, this will not be implemented until we press the execute button. This suspension of the action is essential to better plan and the strategies of the team, because the damage deals is maximized when the multiple characters are close proximity to the attacker. This giving way to combined assaults and combos is essential to winning the fights. During the battles we will not limit ourselves to facing enemies with the special abilities and spells, because recognizing and commanding the board will be essential, with some squares that empower us to the monsters to fight and the possibles offered by the throws and pressures from this point of view. The different characters classes are not surprising and are configured as only the very few easily understandable points of the title, which everything that revolves around is characterized by a visual exaggeration that can leave you stunned. The tendency to be boisterous has always been one of the pillars of Disgaea, which numbers that sprouted like the mushrooms between damage inflicted, those suffered, statistic experience points, level reached, money acquainted, and so on. But with the 6th chapter we took a further step forward with the increase of the level cap to 99999, and this makes it practically useless to try to follow the meaning of the figures that appear on the screen. Furthermore, the level reached by the members of the team has a very uncertain meaning, because the Super Reincarnation that afflicts that is not just a narrative device but a real game mechanics. We can in fact reset each character through the Dark Assembly, bringing it back to the level 1 but simultaneously increasing its basic parameters. Resetting our heroes is by no matter a trivial operation, given that it allows you to push their limits further and further, and it combines perfectly with another cornerstone by this Disgaea saga, that is tendency to a fairly important grinding. The main quest quickly turned out to be just a taste of this Disgaea 6, because in addition to sublingual and game content is the word of the objectives that the true soul of title unfolds. Every piece of our inventory, from a simple healing potion to the legendary sword found in the chest, is explorable and improved through the procedural battles of the item world. Battles are also level up group and the effectiveness of its abilities. This is disproportionate amount of the clashes can be faced first hand, but considering the time it takes to complete each plan, we will very often turn to the auto battle function. Relying on artificial intelligence may seem a heresy in the eyes of the passionate strategist, but Nippon Ichi avoids furious grievances by orchestrating a system of demonic intelligence that closely resembles the gambits of the Final Fantasy XII, so as to give the experience profound management possibilities and vary. In fact, we will decide the approach of our characters to the battle, according to the situation on the field and the personal skills of each of them, or through the construction and strategies follows an almost computer language that must be understood well. Everything works wonderfully in this sense. The World of Object, as well as the Dark Assembly we were talking about previously, offers the player numerous other possibilities, and to it added the opportunities for customization and improvement of the joystick bar, the skill shop, the task can be completed, as much more, which makes this Disgaea 6 an excellent hunting playground for strategy lovers. A distant relief of problem switchverse in the full edition of this Disgaea 6 runs smoothly without any hesitation on the latest Sony console and even on the PC. Two graphic modes can be selected on the pointing to performance and the other visuals rendering, but it's later than this steals the show, because in addition to the graphic details that highlight the 3D models at higher definition, it never suffered during the test played, not even maximizing the speed of the clashes and relying on the artificial intelligence. It must be admitted that the title is not at all exclusive and expensive for the home console. Just think that the bulk of the adventures will spend within the menus in the Underworld. The chessboards on which the battle take place suffer from an immediate recycling after a few hours, but on the other hand, the hateful visuals and the performance defect on the Switch version have now completely disappeared. However, we must ask ourselves about the usability of the title of this genre on consoles and the PCs, because its obsessive propensity for the grinding combined with the noisy that differentiates it from the other strategic ones combines delightfully well with the portability offered by the Nintendo hybrid and not only formed by Living Room. In any case, thanks to the substantial contents and the strategic depth that overlooks the management system, the Nippon Ichi creators can give a lot of satisfaction to lovers of the niche genre. Unfortunately, the localization in Italian and in Russian and also in the German and in English is a bit absent. A feature that does not impact so much on the usability of the plot is not exactly ambitious, but which could instead affect the learning of the many game mechanics. So in a summary, the last chapter of Nippon Ichi Crazy Strategic Series arrives on each consoles on an PC with a revised and corrected edition that makes you forget the technical problems seen before on Switch. The complete edition of this Disgaea 6 includes all characters instead through the DLC, further enriching and, wherever needed, a deep and multi-phased gameplay, which its latest iteration takes on the contours of the absurd and calculated management. The possibilities offered by the title will certainly delight the enthusiastic strategists, who will be able to count on longevity that exceeds 100 hours with extreme ease, while it takes only 40 to complete a main quest and a time to worth of bite. The repetitive storyline is one of the rare weaknesses of the whole Disgaea project. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Peace.